Now for business, and we're joined in the studio by Cole Strangler. Now, as the opening ceremony in Tokyo gets underway, Cole, you're looking into a question that's become a major source of debate. And really, are the Olympics worth hosting from an economic perspective?
Yeah, this really wasn't much of a debate for most of the 20th century, but over time, as the games have become more and more expensive, it's become more and more of a hot topic. We've seen costs really explode over the last couple of decades, particularly for the Summer Games, and that starts really from the very beginning of the process. Preparing the bid itself is expensive, with hosts spending millions on consultants. Once a bid is approved, money then has to be spent on sports infrastructure. Organizers then have to build housing for athletes and often invest in transit upgrades to deal with crowds. That usually accounts for a huge chunk of the spending. Then once the games actually begin their operational costs, security in particular, and when they're over, there's the cost of maintaining all that new infrastructure. Now, there is revenue too, of course, ticket sales, sponsorships, and TV rights. The latter is actually often the most lucrative, but it also has to be shared with the International Olympic Committee. It doesn't just go to the hosts. For all these reasons, the Olympics almost always cost more than what they bring in. According to the Council on Foreign Relations, a U.S. think tank, only one round of games produced a surplus. That's the 1984 Olympics in Los Angeles, which relied heavily on pre-existing infrastructure.
It is indeed a very expensive venture for any city to take on, but Tokyo is also shaping up to be among the most expensive games in history, I understand.
Yeah, the final budget comes out to around $15 billion, and that includes the cost from postponing it due to COVID. But according to Japan's National Audit Board, which prepared a report for legislators, the true cost could actually be even higher, closer to $25 billion. That's if you account for advertising and training programs not part of the official budget. In any case, Tokyo is on track to follow another Olympic tradition of sorts, which is that the costs of the games tend to go well beyond initial estimates. Again, according to the Council on Foreign Relations, we've seen this play out before. The Olympics tend to be costlier than anticipated. As you can see there, the 2016 games in Rio cost $6 billion more than the initial budget. The 2012 games followed the same trend in London, ultimately costing $18 billion. The budget for Beijing, meanwhile, is spiraling to $45 billion, more than a decade ago. And that also worth stressing, Tokyo has another challenge on top of this due to COVID, lack of spectators, meaning less revenue than anticipated. So this is not going to be a very profitable enterprise, to put it lightly.
Indeed. Thanks for that, Cole Strangler. And that's